Okay, we've got to talk about Adam, the tiny little humanoid being found in a cave in Mexico. So get in here. This is Jack with Cosmic Road. I talk about UFOs and the paranormal. Please hit like and subscribe and let me know what you think in the comments below. Yeah, a few months ago, Josh McDowell, the son of Dr. John McDowell, who has famously studied the Nazca mummies, well, Josh said, his dad was getting on board with the study of Adam. And now we have some of the results of that study. So is this little guy human? Is he non-human? Is he perhaps in some way related to the Nazca mummies or the Atacama specimen? So let's talk about it. All right, this is just such a fascinating case. Now, some of the science has come in, and let's talk a little bit about that.
I also just asked him and another biologist friend to make a list of 20 or 25 differences that this being has compared to a human fetus. Yes, there are many. There are many differences. For example, where the spine connects to the head of a human is of a certain structure in all cases. Not here. Here the way the spine fits into the head is very different. The little tubes in the fingers, the nose, the jaw it has. Now, this being also has some teeth. It can't be a fetus. It also has calluses on its feet. In one of the high-definition photos you sent me, it's very clear. This being once walked. Exactly. If it has calluses on the soles of its feet, it's impossible, but it's impossible for it to be a fetus.
I agree. Unlikely to be a fetus if it was up and walking. Now, some of the debunkers and skeptics have said, it was actually an 8-year-old child with a bunch of deformities. Now, I don't believe that. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. First of all, it's tiny. It's a few inches in length. So that's a lot of deformities. Also, there's so much in common between this being and the Atacama specimen. For example, the number of ribs it has. Yeah, that's right. This guy has 10 ribs.
Different cuts it also has on its skull. It has 10 ribs instead of 12. How? 10 ribs. 10 ribs instead of 12, just like the tridactyl beings from Nazca and also the same as the being from Atacama. It also has some tubes that I have never seen except in the being from Atacama that surround all the fingers of the hand. In other words, the little fingers of the hand are surrounded by a type of tube that you can appreciate better in the photos I sent you.
Yeah, and by the way, all this information is coming from the owner of Adam, who's Fernando, and on this channel, Rimble35, and I'll link to it. And I encourage you all to go watch the full interview at your leisure. Of course, this is the AI dubbed version of it. But from all the data they're presenting, it certainly looks like Adam was very much a non-human, and it is being studied by award-winning forensic specialist Dr. John McDowell. Another really cool thing to come out of this interview for me was the folklore that indeed the locals have been seeing these little guys for a long time.
So, in those ancient stories, when the Spanish arrived, it is said that this Aymara tribe lived with these small beings, respecting each other, but when the Spanish arrived, because of the diseases they brought, they wiped out many people from the area, including these small beings. After that, it is said that these beings migrated to the top of the mountains to caves and few of them remained, but it is said that they are still present today.
Yeah, and I've shared those stories with you guys before that indeed the locals are seeing little beings coming and going from caves. Now, it's unclear to me from these stories if we're talking about the tiny little guys like Adam and the Atacama specimen, or if we're talking about slightly larger guys like the little Nazca mummies, who would be pretty big in comparison. But either way, we're looking at little bitty beings that are non-human, that are interacting in some capacity, or at least, the local humans are aware of them. And if we are to go by, the interactions that the humans of the Nazca region seem to have had with the Nazca beings, incorporating them into their artwork and so on, preparing their bodies when they died, we can speculate that there might have been some interaction other than simply being aware of them. But, that's something we don't know. I would love to know the truth of all of that. How were they interacting? Or were they just simply, aware of each other? Wouldn't you like to know? Isn't it too bad that we don't know? And how do those little beings that they were seeing relate to the fairies, for example? Fairy folklore, especially in North Europe, posits that these beings are real. And indeed, they build little fairy houses around Europe, especially in Northern Europe, but going all the way down to Italy, they build fairy houses for these beings, and they'll build, their highways around these fairy houses, showing great respect for these things. And there are multiple credible fairy experiencers, if you will, that I've come across. And I think that's fascinating. I have to wonder if indeed specimens like Adam are the fairies. Is that what we're talking about here? Or we're talking about completely unrelated, beings? Let me know your theories in the comments below. Now, there have been similar small beings, for example, Alyoshinka in Russia that I've talked about before. This is the lady that, so Alyoshinka was found alive. And this lady nursed it, tried to keep it alive and feed it. And people thought she was crazy. And eventually she was institutionalized, at which point the being died and was inexpertly mummified by a relative of hers. But this is Alyoshinka. Very similar looking being, right? We don't know what happened to the body. It vanished, and there's various stories that are out there about that. And again, go see the videos I and others have made about Alyoshinka. But if Alyoshinka is real or was real, and it was alive at that time, that seems to indicate an ongoing presence of these beings, a still extant population of these beings in Russia. And if Atacama is a genuine specimen, as I believe it to be, the interesting thing about the Atacama being is that it was only a few decades old. The carbon dating, puts it, it was a very recent being, recently alive being. Yeah. Of course, the title on this video is "Scientists Confirmed This is Human." Well, the main scientist we're talking about is Gary Nolan, who publicly did say, it's human with a bunch of genetic deformities. But privately, he was saying something else, and he has admitted to saying that. So he says that's just talk. But guys, so, is the Atacama being a fairy, or at least what fairy folklore is based on? Is that something completely different? Guys, it's nuts. We live in freaking Middle Earth. We live in a world where there are giants that are still apparently alive, according to the Kandahar giant story. A very recent case of a living giant, which was probably not the last of its kind. So that means there's others out there. So there are giants out there. There are these little guys out there. And all of this has been kept from us, seemingly deliberately, for centuries and centuries. How could they have kept the truth from us from so long that we live in Middle Earth? That's nuts, guys. It's nuts that we live in Middle Earth and we're not even aware of it. Love it. I can't wait for more of the truth to come out, more of the shocking details of atoms, physiology, and the rest of it. It's just amazing, guys. It's just amazing. Yeah, but more details hopefully will be forthcoming. So let me know what you think about Adam. He's got 10 ribs, the same number of ribs as the Atacama specimen in the Little Nazca mummies. He has a very different way his head meets his body. He had calluses on his feet, so he was a walking being, possibly an adult being. Very, very interesting little fella. And I hope we learn more about him. And hell, if there are little guys like him or like the little Nazca beings still running around the world today, as there seems to be with the Siberian being, which is a dead ringer for the little Nazca beings, and that was, recently deceased. I hope we're able to make contact and that it's peaceful. Yeah, unlike, the Spanish when they arrived and brought diseases with them, and, if there's anything else that happened that drove these beings away or killed them, well, let's get it right this time. But let me know what you guys think about it all in the comments below. Like and subscribe. And again, I'll link to the full interview, and you can go watch Fernando tell us about Adam in the link below. So go watch that, like and subscribe, hit the bell to be notified of future videos. You don't want to miss a thing. Join me on social media. There's Facebook and Twitter links below. Love to see you guys there. If you want to support Cosmic Road in a bigger way, consider grabbing a coffee mug or a t-shirt in the merch store below, or by becoming a channel member. Channel members are rock stars, and I really do appreciate you guys' support. Thank you. Meanwhile, there's plenty of other videos on the channel, and I'll see you next time. This is Jack with Cosmic Road, signing out.